glad that you were my father.
5 seasons, 60 episodes, 3 children. Jaime Lannister was never called a father, not once. He was the uncle who showed up at name day tourneys and watched from a careful distance. He was the Kingsguard knight who stood outside the door. He was the man whose name his own son used as an insult. Joffrey once mocked him to his face as an unexceptional knight who lost his hand, and Jaime stood there and took it. He has always taken it. In Season 5, Episode 10, titled Mother's Mercy, that changes. Briefly, painfully, finally, and in the worst possible way, Jaime Lannister gets the one thing fatherhood requires, being seen, and then Westeros takes it back. The kiss at the dock, the death that was already delivered before anyone knew it. Everything in the ship scene is haunted by what happened 20 seconds before the ship left the dock. Ellaria Sand said farewell to Myrcella on the pier. The farewell included a kiss, on the lips, slow, with a deliberateness that made the show's recappers immediately note its oddness. The medium recap phrased it with characteristic directness. Before they can depart on the ship, Ellaria plants a parting kiss on Myrcella's lips, and it's all, let's let bygones be bygones, until that kiss lingers longer than we're comfortable with. Multiple reviewers flagged the discomfort at the time. Most interpreted it as character eccentricity. Ellaria was known for unconventional expression. A few wondered if it meant something more. It meant everything. The kiss was the poison delivery mechanism. Ellaria Sand had coated her lips with a contact poison, the same class of poison that had nearly killed Bronn during his imprisonment in Dorne, and pressed it to Myrcella's mouth with the appearance of a kiss goodbye. The murder weapon was affection. The instrument of death wore the form of warmth. And back on the dock, within minutes, Ellaria's own nose began to bleed, a symptom of contact absorption, before she wiped her lips clean and took the antidote from a bead on her necklace. Among Men's recap captured the mechanics with precision. On the dock, one of the sand snakes hands Ellaria a handkerchief. She's got a little blood running from her nose too. After wiping it away, she wipes her lips clean as well, tossing the handkerchief into the breeze, before swallowing a few drops of serum from the bead on her necklace. She was already dosing the antidote as the ship was clearing the harbor. Myrcella was already dying when she sat down below deck with her father. The structural cruelty of this, the thing that makes the ship scene so specifically unbearable, is the timing. The poison was delayed. It would take minutes to fully manifest. And those were precisely the minutes in which Jaime Lannister was having, for the first and only time in his life, the conversation he had been unable to have for 5 seasons. The clock was already running when Myrcella said the word father. The show gives him approximately 30 seconds of fatherhood before taking it away. Game of Thrones, which has a long record of weaponizing joy against its audience, had never been more precise about where to place the knife. The conversation below deck, every word analyzed. The scene opens on Jaime Lannister, trying to find a way into the truth. He has clearly been rehearsing this in his head, and has arrived at none of the right words. He begins circling the subject with an oblique approach. He starts talking about Cersei, about love, about the fact that we cannot choose who we love. He is not delivering a speech. He is stuttering toward a confession with the vocabulary of a man who has never actually said the thing he is trying to say. The TV Tropes recap labeled this section, Dragon Allen, This Complete Love One, all read by Rhaedy's death. Luke, I am your father. Jaime starts a fatherly talk with Myrcella with this purpose. The Star Wars reference is a shorthand for the confession Jaime is attempting to engineer. He is trying to become the one who reveals the secret he does not get to. Myrcella stops him, gently, but completely. She tells him she knows. She has known. She has always known. And she tells him, in words the show does not give us in full transcript, but whose emotional content is confirmed across every recap and the fandom wiki, that she is glad he is her father. Myrcella then reveals that she knows that Jaime is her real father, and that she is glad that he is, and the two embrace. The embrace is the scene's emotional apex. The first physical acknowledgement between father and daughter of what they actually are to each other. And what Mikael's Coster-Waldau does in that moment, the specific quality of Jaime's face as his daughter claims him, is the finest piece of acting he delivers in 5 seasons of the role. It is not euphoria. It is not simple happiness. It is relief with grief underneath it. The look of a man who has been carrying something for a very long time and has just been allowed to set it down for about 15 seconds. Then, the smile fades from Myrcella's face. The fandom wiki records this with the clinical precision of someone describing a car accident frame by frame. Myrcella's expression changes. The smile fades on her face, and her nose starts to bleed. She collapses in Jaime's arms. The medium recap's one-word transition between joy and horror is about as honest as writing can get about this scene. Wrong. Myrcella's nose starts spouting blood like Niagara Falls, and she drops dead in Dad's arms. The shock of the moment is not just emotional, it is structural. The show had primed the audience for a denouement. The Dorne arc, which had been widely criticized as the weakest storyline of Season 5, was apparently ending on its one undeniably earned beat. Father and daughter, truth told, reunion achieved. And then, the show demonstrated, in about 10 seconds of screen time, that Westeros does not do denouements. It does reversals. How Myrcella knew, and what her knowledge reveals about her. The question the scene does not answer, and that the show does not address directly before Myrcella dies, is how she knew. She was not told. The secret was maintained with enormous care for her entire life. Cersei had never slipped. Jaime had never said a word. The children had been raised to believe they were Robert Baratheon's heirs. So how does a girl raised in the Red Keep arrive in Dorne with the knowledge of her own parentage already assembled and at peace with it? The fandom wiki offers the most complete explanation. Myrcella is described as being by far the smartest of Cersei's children. Just as out of Tywin's 3 children, it was Tyrion who inherited the famous Lannister intellect. So too, among Cersei's children, it was Myrcella who inherited the family intellect. Tyrion has also complained to Cersei in the novels that it was obvious to anyone who spent a long time living in the Red Keep and was willing to consider the shocking possibility that none of Cersei's children were Robert South. The clues were always there for anyone with the intelligence and the courage to follow them. The gold hair where there should have been dark, the Lannister green eyes, the absence of any Baratheon feature in any of the 3 children, and, after Stannis Baratheon circulated his formal accusations publicly, the political confirmation that the rumor had serious backing. But more important than the intelligence required to deduce the secret is the moral framework Myrcella applied once she had deduced it. She found out that she was the product of incest. She found out that her legal father was not her biological one. She found out that the man who had always been presented as her uncle was actually the man who had fathered her. And her response was not the disgust or horror that the Red Keep's court would have demanded, not the performance of outrage that Westerosi propriety required. Her response was acceptance. More than acceptance, pride. Her relationship with Robert, her legal father, seems to have been somewhat distant, as with Joffrey and Tommen, since when Myrcella tells Jaime that she knows he is her real father, despite the taboo against incest, she expresses happiness, implying she held a lot more respect for Jaime than she did for Robert. She was not indifferent to the taboo. She simply weighed it against what she knew of both men and arrived at an honest verdict. Juxtaposition: the show built Myrcella and Jon Snow in the same episode, the episode that contains the ship scene, Mother's Mercy. Season 5, Episode 10, also contains the final scene of Jon Snow's Season 5 arc, his assassination by the Night's Watch mutineers. The juxtaposition was noticed and analyzed in real time by reviewers, and it is precise enough that it has to be deliberate. Jon Snow dies in Season 5, Episode 10, never knowing the truth of his parentage, never knowing that his father was Rhaegar Targaryen and his mother was Lyanna Stark, never knowing that the man he called father was actually his uncle. The Shameful Narcissist blog captured this juxtaposition with unusual precision. This is contrasted with Myrcella, who discovers the truth of her origins right before death. She dies knowing she's a bastard, but Jon dies never knowing he isn't. It's a cruel but beautiful juxtaposition. Neither one of them received the mother's mercy. 2 children in the same episode, each of them born of a secret that upends everything the world thought it knew about their parentage. One dies knowing. One dies not knowing. Both die before the knowledge can be used for anything. The parallel extends further. Ned Stark carried Jon's true parentage as a secret to his grave, sacrificing his own reputation as an honorable man to protect a child who could never know he was being protected. Jaime Lannister carried Myrcella's parentage in the opposite direction, not as a moral burden he had chosen, but as a social constraint he had been issued. Ned chose to protect Jon at personal cost. Jaime was prevented from claiming Myrcella regardless of what it cost him. Both men are defined in their relationship to a secret child by what they were unable to say. Both children died in proximity to their true father. And only one of the fathers, Jaime, was present for the death. Which is the crueler outcome of those two is not a question the show poses. But sitting with both scenes in the same episode, it is impossible not to ask it. What Jaime lost, not just a daughter, but the only pure thing in his story. The Grokerpedia character analysis of Myrcella Baratheon describes her as sweet, innocent, intelligent, and compassionate from a young age, often showing maturity beyond her years. That description is accurate, and it points to what made her death in Jaime's arms a specific kind of devastation, rather than simply a tragic death. Every other major loss Jaime Lannister experiences across the series is entangled with his own failures. His hand is lost partly because of the consequences of his own choices. His relationship with Cersei is defined by the destruction it has caused, the children born of it, the war the secret of it helped trigger, the death of Ned Stark that his betrayal in Season 1 contributed to. Joffrey's reign of sadism exists in the shadow of Jaime's inability to parent him. Even his great act of honor, killing Aerys II Targaryen to save King's Landing, was an act that destroyed his reputation and earned him the title he can never fully escape. Myrcella had nothing of that weight. She was, in the architecture of the show's moral universe, the only genuinely uncomplicated good thing associated with Jaime Lannister. She was kind. She was smart. She was not cruel the way Joffrey was, not passive the way Tommen was. She held no grudge against a father she had never officially had. She had arrived at the truth of her parentage, and chosen, with full knowledge, to be glad. She gave Jaime something he had never received from anyone in quite this form: unconditional acceptance of what he actually was, rather than what the world officially said he was. And she gave it to him while dying, without knowing she was dying, with the expression of a girl who believed this moment was the beginning of something, rather than the end of everything. Westeros runs on what the TV Tropes recap called a conservation of happiness. The show has operated on this principle since Season 1, Episode 9, since Ned Stark's head fell on the steps of the Great Sept. Joy is permitted only in the moment before it is taken. Myrcella's death is the series' most precise execution of that principle, not because it is the most violent death or the most politically significant, but because the timing is exact to the second. Jaime had waited 5 seasons and 60 episodes for someone to call him father. He had it for less than a minute. And then Westeros, through a poison kiss administered on a dock 20 seconds before the ship sailed, took it back. The word he never got to hear again, what the scene cost the show's most complicated man. The camera, in those final seconds, holds on Jaime Lannister holding his daughter. He does not scream. He does not call for help. There is no one to call. He is on a ship in the middle of the water between Dorne and King's Landing, and the only thing he can do is what he has always done when something has been taken from him: hold what remains and absorb it. Nikolai Coster-Waldau plays the moment in a register of total shock that is not yet grief, because grief requires the mind to accept what has happened, and the mind has not yet caught up to what the arms are feeling. He is holding his daughter. His daughter is not moving. He has known her for 5 seasons as his niece, and for 30 seconds as his child, and now she is neither. In Season 7, Cersei Lannister will confirm Myrcella's death was the last thing that fully broke her. She will tell Jaime, in one of the series' most harrowing conversations, that she no longer cares about consequences, because all 3 of their children are dead, and there is nothing left to protect. The prophecy of Maggie the Frog, delivered in the opening minutes of Season 5, Episode 1, stated that all 3 of Cersei's children would predecease her. Gold shall be their crowns, and gold their shrouds. Joffrey, poisoned at his wedding. Myrcella, poisoned on a ship. Tommen, dead by his own hand, in Season 6. The prophecy was always going to be fulfilled. What the prophecy did not say, and what the show quietly makes visible in the ship scene, is that before the last gold shroud was laid, Jaime Lannister got 30 seconds of being what he actually was: a father. His daughter told him she was glad. Then Westeros ended the conversation, as it always does.